Figured I'd shoot a second video here just to demonstrate what it looks like when it's charging. On the little BMS screen here, you'll see on the right side it says power negative 11 amps, 3 kilowatts. That's how much energy is going into the pack right now. Similar to regen, it just gives you a negative number there, and that tells you the energy is going into the pack rather than out. Originally, this 193% in miles left, they're just the exact same. They set it at 1% is 1 mile, so I'm not sure why they decided to reiterate that right next to it and put a percentage in miles left when they could have just put one or the other. But that doesn't matter so much. This is the full BMS, so I'll just navigate through it. Sometimes the buttons are kind of hard to press, so if you double tap, and if I do it while I'm looking at it rather than looking at the screen, it's easier. That'll get you to the next set. That's just the stage where it tells you all the batteries. Right now they are currently charging, so it gives you the current when you came to this screen right here, so negative 10 amps. Tells you what the balanced voltage would be right now for the whole pack, and it's actively balancing them while charging them. So the voltage here, the min and the max voltage, eventually they'll come to be about the same number, and all of these lines will get up to about 4.1 to say that it's fully charged. The temperature is here. It's just going to give you all the different thermostats that are in there, tell you the values. The trip counter is kind of weird. I don't know that the information in there ever makes any sense, but there it is. Since I just reset everything, it's just at 0 basically right now. That's the trip that I just went on, 1.83 miles. It's 20 miles an hour, blah blah blah. Gives you the efficiency that I did, which was not very good. 348 is not especially great as efficiency. Then this last screen is the set, and that's more like the settings. I wouldn't play with it too much because I've got it calibrated now, but if you ever do need to do calibrations and things, you can come to this screen, and right here is a calibrate button. If you know that you're right at 0 current in and out, you can push calibrate, and that'll set the 0 point again for you. And I would just use that if you find that the values are drifting here. Like if the current, when you're plugged in, it says 3 kilowatts, that's pretty accurate. You got a 3.3 kilowatt charger in here. 3 kilowatts, it doesn't have precision to the 10th, so it's probably right about 3.3. Negative 10, 10 amps at 317 volts tells you it's right about 3.2, which is pretty darn close, and it's bouncing between 10 and 11, so it's probably right there. That would be, but anyways, that's when you would want to calibrate, is when you know that that's drifting. Like right now, if it's at negative 20, we'd be like, whoa, that's way off. We want to calibrate it, so we want to get it to where this is on and we're at 0 going in and out, and then we would push calibrate. So to turn the BMS screen off, because you don't always want it totally on, there's a little button here. If you toggle that, it'll just turn that screen totally off, like that. Now the screen's gone, and we push it again, it'll start up, but it's going to actually boot into the little Windows CE platform, so it takes a minute to actually get back up and going. So when you're charging, you might leave it off, or you could always leave it off really and just check on it when you feel the need. At first you might want to check it out a lot so you can keep an eye on things, but eventually when you have trust for where your values are at, you'd be fine with just leaving it off altogether, and things would probably work out fine. Alright, hopefully this is helpful to you. There's the screen coming up. Actually, let me go through one last stage here so you can see how this part works too. We use a mouse that we attach to the little computer, so I've got a little mouse here, and you just click on the top left corner. It says my device, then you go to SD card, and I wish this would just automatically happen, and unfortunately whoever designed this system didn't get that to work quite right in CE to where it would just automatically launch this program as soon as it turns on. But you go to SD card and then display, and then that is going to launch that back to the BMS. That's basically the only thing that you'd really want to do in there. I mean, you could add a keyboard and mouse and add Wi-Fi connection and actually, use that as a web browser. I mean, it's just basic, like a Palm Pilot, little Windows CE platform. You can do whatever you want on it, but what the design for it is just basically to get you to this screen and give you that kind of information while you drive. which is just going to be your voltage. Important to know when you're running out of, it's basically your fuel level, because the fuel level indicator on the actual Yaris screen isn't going to tell you anything. It just stays at empty all the time. It either stays at empty or full, one or the other, but it never changes, so you don't ever look at it. It doesn't mean anything. All right, hopefully this is helpful.